Hello everyone, I'm here with another video of Grandmaster series and here we have our sixth Grandmaster Pentala Harikrishna. So this is the game which he played in the year which he became Grandmaster. So that is in 2001. So this game is played in Asian Championship in Kolkata and the opponent name is Ziaur Rahman who is playing white pieces. Now, in this game, the point what I observed is the instructive point is that the rook ending part which Hari Krishna played is really nice actually. The way he handled the rook. See, opening and middle game part are I think it's fine, but the instructive part which we have to observe is the rook ending part. So where your opponent, his opponent had the passed pawns on the king side, and Hari Krishna had pawn majority on the queen side. So that is the part we have to just observe in this position. Okay. So let's discuss the game. So the game is a semi-slab bottoming system variation, that is nf3, nf6, c4, c6, d4, d5, and c3, e6. You can go through the moves so slowly when you are just practicing the game. My suggestion is always you have to practice with the chessboard. Okay, keep chessboard next to you and make the moves, and you can learn a lot from that particular method. Yeah, bishop g5, pawn takes c4, e4, b5, e5, h6, bishop h4, g5, a typical botanic variation of the semi-slav. That not necessarily typical, it's a variation. Yeah, knight into g5, h into g5, bishop into g5, and nbd7. Pawn takes f6, and here bishop b7. Usually pawn takes f6 is not played in this position. Most probably white will play pawn g3 in this position, or yeah, pawn g3, bishop b7, bishop g2, queen b6, something like that. Yeah, move on. Once queen move away, then only white will capture on f6. That's the usual condition. Let's say pawn g3, bishop b7, bishop g2, queen b6. Now queen went away from this pin, right? So pawn takes f6 will be played. But in this position, in this particular game, white played directly pawn takes f6. That is the reason maybe Hari Krishna played the variation of bishop h6 probably. Okay, pawn takes f6, then bishop b7 is common. After g3, now queen b6 transpose, queen b6, bishop g2 transpose to the line which I just told you just now. But in the game, Hari Krishna played c5 directly, pawn d5, then bishop h6. Maybe c5 will be played in most cases. That's fine. Yeah. Bishop h6 variation. Bishop takes h6, rook takes h6. Queen d2 attacking the rook on h6, and here we have queen takes f6. Triplo and pawn takes d5. Now bishop g2 is played, and now knight to b6. Bishop takes d5, knight takes d5, knight takes d5, and here triplo. So position is going to, like, everything is going to be equal, but the difference in the game position is okay. Let me show you that along with the moves. Knight takes f6, rook takes d2, king takes d2, bishop takes h1, and rook takes h1, rook takes f6, f6, rook takes f6, and f4. Here you see material is equal, but there is a huge difference in dynamism of the position. See, white is having h passed pawn, and black is having queen side pawn majority. So this kind of position is very, like, you need very good calculation ability to handle this kind of situation over the board, because it's a race between you play on your side, I will play on my side. That's what white is saying. Even black's argument is also same thing. So you play on the queen side. Okay, you try to promote create passed pawn on the queen side. I'm already having a passed pawn on the king side. I like to push that. That is the white player's argument. And here, how Hari Krishna maneuvered the king and rook together. So that is the point we have to observe in this position, in this particular game. Okay. First rook d6 check, king e2, and he brought king d7, because in most cases whenever you are playing fighting against passed pawn, usually player uh, who is playing against it, like in rook ending I'm speaking about, who is playing against it will transfer the king to block that passed pawn. So that is the technique Hari Krishna is using in this game. H4 means now f5, so not to allow g4 to come up. Okay, after f5, h5, king e6, transfer the king. h6, now you should not move the king because h7 will just definitely queen the pawn. So that's why you have to bring the rook to block the pawn. Rook d8, h7, rook h8, otherwise pawn will queen, right? So that's now king f3, king f7, rook h6. Now white is planning to take the rook to queen side and try to capture those ones, because anyway white is losing the h1. In return for loss of the h1, white is trying to capture the pawns on the queen side. King g7, rook c6, rook into h7. So my request to all the viewers is that you play through these moves slowly when you are watching the video. You can just pause the video and slowly play the moves and think by yourself what will be the next upcoming move. Based on that, you can find out the ideas. Otherwise, I'm just going fast in the video because I just want to try to reduce the video time. Okay, so that's why my suggestion, you guys just please pause the video and play through the moves slowly. Rook into c5. Now b5 and f5 both are attacked, so that's why a6. See, black wants to maintain the three connected pawns on the queen side, and black is ready to give up f5 pawn. So rook into f5, and here rook h2 counter attack. Anyway, white can't save the pawn, so white played rook c5 and rook into b2. Now white player played pawn g4. He's tried to, now white is having two connected passed pawns on the king side in return for black's one passed pawn, but maybe potential passed pawn in the b file, right? Okay. So after g4, now rook into a2. Yeah. Now anyway, now black is having three passed pawns and white is having two passed pawns. G5, rook a1, king g4, king f7, king f5, king e7. Now the rook is taking care of the g passed pawn from the behind. Usually in rook ending, rook should be behind the passed pawn, right? So that is the idea here. G6, rook g1. Yeah, rook c6, king d7, rook into a6, c2. Sorry, c3, c3, not c2. Rook a2. Now get the king in, king d6, because we need to get the king to support the pawn. Rook a6, king d5, not king c5. Okay, king d5, fine. Yeah. Rook a8, pawn c2, rook d8, king c4, rook c8, king d3. If you give again check, maybe king c3, king b2 can go up. So he just played king f6 and pawn push queens. After rook into the game, white player resigned here, I guess so, because let's say if you play g7, g7 is error in my opinion, because after g7 rook g1. So if you play f5, king e4. So now white is in zug zone. He can't save both the pawns, right? In case if white player play pawn to f5 first in this position, can play king e4. Now if you play king e6 or anything, now there is a check. Yeah, is it? Or maybe you can simply play rook g1. I can't push any pawn. Yeah, correct. So this is lost, followed by pushing of this b pawn and queen. So this was one of the instructive rook ending positions which I just thought. So I just wanted to share with you guys. So thank you so much for watching the video. See you in next video. Thank you. Bye.